Yo, YouTube, this video is titled FaZe is actually finished. Let's go. It's by Pyro Cynical.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a 216-year-old.
I don't know what the fuck that is.
I'm like, bro, what?
Norton, pause. You're saying that FaZe tempers, which that is who he's talking about in the clip.
I'm the furthest thing from what you called me.
Just own up to it.
I slept with one of them. This girl was...
FaZe as a company has been under...
You know what's crazy, bro? That's how you know. When somebody has to give two different responses to what's going on, that's how you know they got caught in a lie. Isn't that crazy? I believe FaZe Rain, because what does he have to benefit from coming out and speaking about this situation? All he said is the reason why he's not in FaZe is because somebody was a freaking PDF file. They're fucking weird.
Loads and loads of fire recently. I mean, I've talked about them in the...
That's why Max left? Nah, Max left because he wanted to do his own thing. To be honest with you, I don't even think he really rocked with them anyways. I think he just saw the opportunity and then he just dipped once he was good, bro. Did you watch the Mr. Beast video? I watched some of it, but we're gonna watch the rest of it.
Past, their stocks being down, members leaving, but now it genuinely does seem that this is the end of FaZe Clan. Now, there are many members of FaZe Clan, too many to count, but some of the most prominent members is, for example, FaZe Rain, one of the founders, FaZe Banks, also one of the founders, but FaZe Rain actually went onto a Twitch stream alluding to why he was leaving the group, basically saying that he left because he believes that in their group at FaZe there is an actual P word.
I swear to God, I put myself under the bus instead of them. I wasn't even pushed out. I left. There's a involved too, bro. I don't give a if I get sued. I could give a I always stand up for what's right. That was the final straw, bro.
He didn't say who...
He was saying some real shit. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I'm gonna be honest, that shit is crazy. And you notice, like, he never brought it up. Somebody asked him about it. And if somebody says what's on their mind, you know it was weighing on them for a while, bro. Let me tell you the truth about all this fucking influencer content creation shit, bro. There's a lot of slimy people in this industry. There's a lot of people that will do anything to get on, and there's people that will do anything to stay on. You know what I mean? What's dark will always, what is it called? What's in the dark always comes to light. There you go.
It was. He just alluded to it and then went completely offline. And unsurprisingly, Twitter had an absolute meltdown trying to find out or accuse who this certain member was because there was basically no clues. And then when Rain was away from his stream, the former CEO of FaZe Clan, Banks, he made a video response on Twitter because unsurprisingly, if you throw around huge accusations that someone in FaZe Clan is very bad.
Nah, you know what's crazy? Everybody, like, on Twitter, they hate Banks. Because a lot of the people who are on, like, the Twitter audience, that's really more the Aiden Ross community. Like, AR loyals, they just run crazy on Twitter, bro. They're, like, the most active on Twitter. And so, ever since Banks fell out with Aiden, they pretty much hated him. So they took every opportunity they could. Even with, like, the Bruce shit, if you notice, everybody kind of had a problem with Banks. You know what I'm saying? So, everybody just went ahead and called him out just because they don't like him.
They're usually going to look at the biggest members, and Banks was one of the biggest members.
First thing I'm going to say in this video is Rain is not talking about me. There, I got it out. But, yeah, I'm getting spammed in my mentions right now on Twitter, asking if I'm being accused that I'm being tagged in this clip from FaZe Rain on Fearbuck talking about there's a FaZe.
So Banks was getting a lot of heat. A lot of people were directly accusing him. So what he did is basically just reported who it actually was. And apparently it was FaZe Temper.
And this shit turned to an Among Us lobby. He's like, I am not the imposter.
Call him. He's like, Banks, don't play dumb. We talked about this before. I'm like, Norton, pause. You're saying that FaZe Temper is which that is who he's talking about in the clip. And there's a story and we're going to get into it.
But what Banks doesn't do is actually make it clear what Temper did. He basically just kind of name drops him.
Tommy's first initial knee-jerk reaction to all was, what the f are you talking about? Norton, no, this is not what the conversation was like. You're misremembering, you're misinterpreting. Obviously, Rain is coming back, standing firm on the fact that, no, you did say this. I do believe that you did this, whatever. And there's a conversation that happened between Norton and FaZe Temper years ago.
See, this is what happens when it's like there's no documented proof, there's no receipts. So it's like you're really just going off of like the stories, but let me tell you the difference between a lie and a truth. When you lie, what happens? You have to constantly keep lying, and you have to remember the lies that you're telling to maintain it. So you have to keep that in mind. The truth is the truth no matter what. If you heard what you heard, you don't have to remember the truth. The truth is self-evident. The truth doesn't change. If you heard some crazy shit, you know what you heard. But if you're lying, you have to maintain the lie. And that's what happened with fucking Tommy, aka Temper. He got caught in a fucking lie, bro.
It's obviously a very heavy
Like,
accusation.
it's literally like he said that, like, and then it's like the details just got muddied. First he said it was two 16-year-olds, then he said it was a 17-year-old, and somebody watched. I don't know, bro.
I mean, Rain's talking about making videos. Rain's talking about this, and nobody's telling him not to. I mean, obviously, Tommy's like, bro, this isn't true. You're gonna ruin my life. The ramifications, rather, this has on his life.
You're gonna ruin my life. Why would he deliberately want to ruin his? Why would he deliberately want to ruin his friend's life? You hear the way he's talking? What? It's like you can already see he's leaning more towards Tommy than Rain. Because if Rain never spoke out about this situation, then Banks would have been quiet about it, bro. Which means it was never about that. You know what I mean? Like, they knew this shit for you heard it. This conversation was like, what was it, a year ago, 2 years ago? And y'all didn't, like, sort this out?
It's life-shattering.
Also, I do want to note going forward, because this law gets very confusing, whenever the word Tommy is mentioned, that is FaZe Temper, because FaZe Temper is FaZe's current acting president. Now, this response is pretty
I didn't know that.
interesting, because it seems that Banks wanted to basically kind of leave the internet or semi-retire after stepping down from FaZe. But obviously, he had to make an announcement because a lot of people were speculating that he was an actual. And obviously, the best way to get the heat off your back is to name someone else instead of actually trying to defend yourself. So a couple of hours later, FaZe Rain boots up yet another Twitch stream to basically recount what he'd been referring to. He basically accuses Temper of admitting to a crime that he committed in 2021.
This dude looks me in my eyes and says, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I had a with two 16-year-olds. I'm like, bro, what? Like, how could you tell me that after I'm telling you the 3 rules I have to why I'll never have your back as a friend? On my mother's heartbeat. That's what he said. He looked me in the eyes and he said that.
Now, the details of this story are really, really important because they...
I mean, bro, he admitted it. He admitted to it. He admitted to it, bro. It's not even do I think. He's done. He's cooked. He came out and said it himself.
Directly actually conflict with what other people have said, because FaZe Rain was originally told that these girls were 16 just a couple of minutes after he airs out Temper, and then Banks joins Rain's stream to talk because the tweet that he made was made in the hours that Rain was actually offline, and then things definitely got a little bit hostile, to say the least, but the conversation was actually valuable because both of them clearly recount their side of the story.
He looks me in my eyes and says, I'm not gonna lie, bro, I had two 16-year-olds verbatim. And I said, please tell me you were 17 at latest. He said, nah, bro, it was last year. So that would have been 2022, 2021.
But what you just said, that's what you just said. I'm not in the car. We agree on that. I don't know exactly how this conversation goes.
But I brought it up on the call.
Hold on, please, just let me get this point off.
Now, this Discord call is quite strange because it reveals one key contradiction between Rain and Banks' stories. Rain continuously maintains that the girls Temper was involved with was 16. Banks says that they called about a year ago, and Temper amends this story saying that the girls were actually 17 instead.
And he proceeded to say, if I said I had a with two 16-year-olds, I said it to be cool, verbatim. It was a 17-year-old and the other one watched.
I don't know how that's
And then he
cool.
started bringing... that's what I'm saying. I'm telling you that's the most cancelable, horrible thing.
Are they 16 or are they 17, bro?
And I would never have your back as a friend. And you tell me that to act like it's cool?
You know, they continue to yap back and forth for a while.
What I'm saying is he did admit it. And then he said, bro, if this comes out, I'm going to kill myself. That is what he said. He didn't say if this accusation, because if he didn't do it, he'd stand on that 10 toes. You could make up whatever rumor you want about me. I'm not going to kill myself over a fake rumor.
That's heavy. He did say that. So again, and me and you talked about this privately again. I didn't say don't. Yes. I didn't say don't.
I don't even know why Banks is on call. Like this, like if you didn't do it, you didn't do it, bro. You being on this call really just makes you look bad, bro. I'm gonna keep it a buck. If I was Banks, I would have just made a 10-second video. It wasn't me, and then I would have just like left it at that and just lived my life.
Don't do anything. I just obviously this heavy.
You
This
said
kid
this,
literally
and I remember verbatim what you said too. You said, out of all the years I've known Tommy, he's never said anything like this. He's never said he's
Which is
killing.
true.
Yes.
Facts or no?
And then he goes on to say that Temper apparently had issues with like excess partying. It made him believe he was actually capable of a crime against a 16-year-old.
16-year-old girls in a 16-year-old, and then he came in and said, I met this girl at a nightclub somewhere in New York, and it turned out that after the fact that she was 17 and her friend was like there, but we didn't hook up, whatever. And he was like, there wasn't, you guys' stories weren't corroborated. That's true or untrue, by the way.
Bro, whether she's 16, 17. Like, come on, bro. That shit don't matter. That's still 16 or 17.
Also consistently maintains that Temper told him 16, not 17.
He found out later that she was 17. And again, he reiterated the fact that law of consent in New York is 17.
Yo, he got his trigger finger on the disconnect button. If he starts saying some bullshit, he's gonna hang up.
And the fact that he met this girl at a nightclub, which is, like, if that's true, that is.
But you see how you're still like softly confirming it by saying he said age of consent is 17. So he's saying he did do it. But then he drops the age by a single year to tell me they're 16. But then to soften the blow, he says, oh, no, she was 17. And then age of consent in New York is 17.
The thing is about the situation, this girl could have been 16, 17. Apparently this happened in 2021, which makes FaZe Temper anywhere between 27 to 28 years old. Now, while Rain was actually live streaming, which went on for a very...
So it's like, why were you even around this girl in the first place? That's fucking weird.
Very long time, Temper did actually end up making a response, and he deflected and basically said that Rain was trying to attack his livelihood.
The fact that I'm even having to respond to this, that my name is in the same breath as the word, is so sick, twisted, and insane. Brother, I have known you since you were 14 years old. You know the type of person I am. I am not what you called me. All I care about is my family, bro. Like, my biggest concern is my family. Now my kid has to grow up and see this, then see that his father is in the same, that my name is in the same light as what you just called me.
Whose fucking fault is that? I'm not gonna lie, his room is tough. I was looking at all these damn skateboards and shit. But, bro, your actions and the conversations that you had, that's you. You notice how he didn't say Banks? You notice how he didn't say Apex? You notice how he didn't say any other member's name? He's deliberately talking about you. Why? Because you said it to him. So what are we talking about?
Now, one thing I find really bizarre about this response is, like, at one point he says, bro, I raided you the other day.
And I've been there for you this whole time. You talked about how I raided you the other day, even though...
You know, kind of...
Oh, bro, I raided you the other day. What the fuck? That doesn't mean anything. Bro, I gave you 100 viewers, bro. Like, come on, man.
Implying that would motivate someone to keep all of this under wraps. Now, while Rain was still live, he actually responded to his tweet on stream. He basically made it clear that he didn't have Temper's back and thought that this guilt tripping was, like, really stupid.
First brought this up a year ago, and I believe that you brought it up just for money purposes, that you wanted money out of FaZe. Like, you stated that a year ago in the conversation. Just for money purposes, that you wanted money out of FaZe. Like, you stated that a year ago in the conversation with me.
Bro, you see how they try, bro.
You stated
it is in comedy how they try to mix things like that in to try to make it seem like, oh, well, his intentions weren't there. I did it, but his intentions were there when that's not true. What do I gain out of this, bro? That's what I'm saying. It's
nothing. He gains literally nothing except a fucking headache and people questioning him about the details and you're publicly falling out with your friends. There is no benefit. Oh my god, bro. This dude is hella manipulative. Dude, you just wanted money out of FaZe. Okay. He left FaZe. He left. And he said the reason why he left is because of you. And he said earlier on that he even brought up how he got fucked over monetarily from FaZe, and Banks confirmed that. He said everybody got fucked over. So what are we even talking about? Wow.
Sick. Just own up to it. Trying to say I blackmailed, then I would have blackmailed, buddy. You said you were gonna kill yourself.
Right, if you're gonna blackmail, that's some shit that happens behind the scenes, bro.
Came out, bro, and then you're over here lying about it. It's insane, bro.
And saying that Temper's emotional accusations against Rain as some sort of ploy for cash felt very desperate and baseless. At this point, it does seem like a pretty closed case. Temper was going to turn the other cheek and act like nothing happened. Banks and Rain both had their own stories, and they were largely in agreement that Temper definitely admitted to being intimate with at least one 17-year-old girl and being in the presence of another one of the same age. But then a few hours later, Temper made yet another response. This is why this drama has been so difficult to actually follow, because every
Bro, he literally cooked himself, bro.
5 minutes, someone puts out a completely new response that seems to invalidate previous things that have been said. Now, before his response came out, people did the thing that they always do and digged into someone's history, like, for example, finding these old tweets of him from like 2012. Now, I do
Wait, what?
someone's history, like, for example, finding these
Kid, you hang out with 16-year-old girls. Stop acting like a hard ass, you blank blank. Mind your own business. What if I... Wait, what? What the fuck? How old would he have been in 2012? Like 13 years ago. He probably would have been young as fuck at that time.
old tweets of him from like 2012. Now, I do want to say, to be fair, that tweet is very obviously a joke. A really unfunny joke.
I'm not gonna lie, in like the early 2010s, bro, you gotta understand, that was a completely different era of the internet. None of the shit that people said back then is really unless it's crazy. But a lot of that shit is not applicable because a lot of the humor was dark, edgy humor. Like, it was racist humor. It was like, you could say anything under the sun and it would be funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody got one of those tweets because everything was different. Even Vine, look at Vine humor. It was straight racism. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I think digging up old tweets is stupid unless it's around the same time frame that the shit happened.
But it is still a joke. And again, it's from 2012. That is over 10 years old of a tweet. But at the same time, obviously, it doesn't invalidate anything that he's being accused with, especially with sleeping around with underage people. So after the initial response, Temper actually posted another tweet, basically recounting his own story of how this happened. Now, the first thing that Temper does admit in the video is he definitely slept with a 17-year-old.
I go to this club that's 21 plus. We're all and I end up going back with these girls to my hotel room. I slept with one of them, and I found out after that this girl was 17.
And then he makes it.
You know what's funny about that response? This was such a long-winded response. It was like 3 minutes of just straight bullshit. And once he got to like the meat and potatoes, bro, that's what people really cared about. They didn't give a fuck about him pouring out his heart, talking about how he found the love of his life and he broke up with her and then he went out and then they got together. We don't give a fuck about that, bro. just tell us, did you do it or did you not do it, bro?
To a point that it's the age of consent in New York.
And that's the age of consent in New York.
Basically, the point he was trying to make is he went into a club that was apparently 21 and over. This girl, I'm not sure how she got inside. She might have used like a fake ID or something like that because she was...
Yo, is he putting Schedule 1 music in the background?
17. And from his recollection, he wasn't aware of these girls' ages until the day after. So all of this happened while Rain was still live. And this is when the second response was tweeted. And he basically contrasted it with his own point of view. And again, even after Temper's response, he still maintains that what Temper said to him is this girl was 16. And he also notes that this detail of not knowing that they were under 18 didn't come up in his initial confrontation with Temper when he found out
that this girl was 17.
Then why wouldn't you tell me that, bro? You never told me you didn't know. You know, if that was the case, I would have your back to that, bro. You know that. You know that if you said like, bro, I did that, but I didn't know. They told me they were 21. They told me they were 22. I had no idea.
Or this phone call that apparently happened in...
He's trying to dress that shit up. Because, bro, once you get PDF, like, allegations over your head, bro, you're done. I'm not gonna lie. You're cooked. Anything else, you can kind of work around. Like, if you're a woman beater, nobody's gonna give a fuck. Oh, let's keep it a bean. If you're a woman beater, you can beat those allegations. If anything happened with like anything else, you could literally fix. If he was racist, nobody would give a fuck. PDF, you cannot, bro. That is something you cannot bounce back from.
2025, where Temper recounted his story to Rain and Banks.
Like, listen, I'm glad he's taken like admitting it, but I just don't believe he knew after, because he would have said that. He had two opportunities to say that.
Deadass.
He told me first off, and when we had that call, he didn't say it on the call. He didn't say it in the original part. He would have said it again and be like, bro, but I didn't know. Like, if he kept pushing that point, I didn't know. You know, I wouldn't do that.
I'm being a better
I just feel like he's saying it now
Grape too.
because he knows.
Nah, I'm not gonna lie. Rain is very transparent. I could just tell from his demeanor, bro. He doesn't give me the same vibe as like any of the other members, if you notice. He's very to himself. He's not, you know what I mean? He's not really trying to be seen with a lot of high profile people. He just sits in his room. Like, he has nothing to gain from this. He's not trying to get cool points. You know what I mean? Like, he was cool with walking away from FaZe. If he was really, like, obsessed with clout, he would have been around new FaZe. He would have been spamming collaborations. He would have been up in everybody's face. He would have been trying to do, you know, like a lot of this new content style shit. No, he's in his room. He does his own content. He stays to himself. He doesn't do collaborations. He's transparent and he's honest. And he could have, bro, it really would have been better for him not to talk about everything, because this is one big fat ass headache. And he's just falling out with a bunch of people when they got to give responses and they throwing dirt on his name. And there's probably people who feel like what Temper did wasn't crazy, so then they're throwing shots at him. And it's like, bro, you know what I mean? I see no... I don't see a benefit in bro doing that. You feel me?
It kind of gets him out of it. And I'm just being real. Like, that's just what it feels like, because he would have said it.
So again, this entire situation is just very, very bizarre. But you can really tell that this is
every time I join bro's stream, he just be trick shotting and replaying 2024 music. See?
probably the final nail in the coffin for FaZe Clan. Rain claims that Temper initially...
Oh yeah, it was so bad, bro. They had to, they literally had to they literally had to do a roster update, bro. Hold on. They literally had to do a fucking roster update. Alright, let me show you this. Oh my god. Let me show you this. This is funny as fuck. Bro, what the fuck? Show you this. Yo! You know this situation got so bad with FaZe that they had to drop an updated roster just to remind everybody that a lot of those founding members that are in beef aren't even Adapt, Apex, Jason, Jeb, Kason, Lacey, Rage, Replays, Ron Rug, Scope, Silky, Swag, Zuma are esports teams. They literally had to do a roster update. That's funny as hell. Was good, Crow?
He claimed that he had a with two 16-year-old girls. Meanwhile, Banks claims that Temper slept with a girl who only just met New York's age of consent laws, while the other one apparently watched. Now, Temper's story does cooperate with Banks' perspective, but also adds that he didn't know the girl's age until the next morning when he was sober, and also pontificates his guilt regarding the entire scenario. It's a very confusing story. You've basically got three main players, and they're all giving slightly different details on what actually happened. I'm not sure what will happen next, where this will go. I did want to treat it a bit more seriously.
I think it'll die down. I think they'll cut ties publicly with Temper. Temper will go back to his fucking life. Bro, you know how the internet is. Shit be moving on so fucking quick, bro. Crazy.